confused freedom with death, turned our tongues toward lies and our bellies to excess. Now every hollow promise echoes through the streets, and every road to pleasure leaves a wound beneath. Who will sound it while the nation still has ears? Who will warn them? The enemy draws near. Sound the shofar. The enemy is here. Praise the Lord that he may give ear and remember us in mercy. We welcome strange fire into the center of our city, fed our children on confusion, yet marvel as they wither. Now the well tastes bitter, and the watchmen are not warning. Still the people sing of peace as the ground gives way beneath. Who will sound it while the nation still has ears? Who will warn them that the enemy draws near? Sound the shofar while there is still time. Sound the shofar. The enemy is here. Praise the Lord that he may give ear and remember us in mercy. Still the people sing of peace as the ground gives way beneath.
Well, hello and welcome to Idol Killer, a ministry dedicated to introducing you to the holy and living God of Scripture. I'm your humble host, Warren McGrew. And you were just listening to a new track I put out a little while ago over on Idol Killer 2. I love making music. A lot of people don't like AI. I like AI. It lets me vent. It lets me be creative. It's cathartic. And it lets me get the music that's in here and in here kind of out, right? I'm not an artist. I'm not a true musician, but I like words. I like music. I can hear it, and that lets me get it out. And so recently, over on Idol Killer 2, I've gone through a bit of a nostalgic '90s grunge phase. So I've got another track on there that kind of evokes, at least I hope it does, Chris Cornell and Soundgarden. I've got another one on there that was inspired by Smashing Pumpkins and their Mayonnaise song. Mine's called Mustard Seed, right? And that track was called Shofar, and if you can't tell, was inspired by the legendary Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. So I love it. It's a lot of fun. But if you want to know more, you can go over to Idol Killer 2, or you can always check us out over on our website. Go to idolkiller.com, and where did it go? I just accidentally minimized the wrong window. And you'll see you can go up to watch. All of our videos are listed there, both from the main channel as well as the second channel. And you can find the song you just listened to today called Shofar. I've got Honest Man. It's kind of like like Soundgarden. If you guys like Catherine Wheel, you might like Perverse City. And then Mustard Seed is kind of like a Smashing Pumpkins jam. Stay With Me, I really like, but it's more math rock and screamo. And then you can find a lot of our music on streaming services, but to publish it to like Spotify, Apple, that costs money. And right now, if you didn't notice, I posted a pin comment to my page. Is it PayPal? I need to raise some funds in a hurry. And so I don't have a lot of money lying around right now to publish my music on the major streaming services, and I can put it up on Idol Killer 2 for free. So that way I can at least enjoy it, or people can listen to it. But I am in a spot. Can't really talk too much about it, but I've got 24 hours to pull off a miracle. So if you like me, if you don't like me, but you want to help me protect my children and do the things that a good daddy will do, if you want to help me in this situation that I'm in, please consider using the PayPal, because I have 24 hours. I've been trying to get this done since the fall of 2024. And I was told today I have 24 hours to make it happen. So it's something that I've been wanting. It's something that I've been pushing for. But now all of a sudden, the burden dropped in my lap, and I have to pull it across the end zone. And I've got 24 hours to fund it. So please, 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 whatever you can afford. When I say my back is up against the wall, I mean it. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following the saga, if there's ever a documentary that ever does come out about this, it's going to make the Bricks and Minifigs by what's his name, Ben, whatever his name is. It's going to make that look, it's going to make it look tame by comparison. But I can't do that sort of stuff here. I got to be very vague about it. I can't go into detail. But please consider, wherever it is, donating, because this is the wire, and I think I'm close. If there's any faith left in the system, I think I'm close. And if you can't donate, if you're in a similar situation and finances are tough, then pray, because God is the living and holy God, and He does respond to prayer, and He does listen to the petitions of His people. So enough groveling, enough begging. Welcome to the channel. All right. Took a little bit of time off. If you don't know, I had started a new job. I was working, counting drive time, about 12 to 13-hour days. It was insane. It was not fun. It was actually, the job is a lot of fun. Long hours are not fun. And tomorrow I go in and I take my third and final test. This is the big one, right? I've passed 2 other tests. And this one I'm going to go in, it's going to be about an hour and a half long. And if I pass this, then I graduate and I can go out into the field and start potentially making a living, which will be nice. So if you're in the praying mood, please pray that the Lord give me clear head, discernment, wisdom, tact, and that everything goes smoothly for my test tomorrow as well. It's been a long road, but I think like the Lord has led me here. I think He'll. The way I maybe I'm a little nutty here. I go into my kid's bedroom. I take all their Lego and I dump it on the floor. I have unlimited possibilities of what I can make about it. That's just a small reflection of what God can do with the chaos of our lives. He's brilliant, wise, holy. He can redeem and clean up and make beautiful the worst of messes. He can make lives that have been ruined and destroyed either by our own foolish choices or by the impact of foolish choices of others or a combination thereof. He can step in and redeem that and make something beautiful. So I'm trusting him in that. And today, as I'm driving down the road, I just came out of one major battle, and then that's why I'm here talking to you today, trying to do a fundraiser. So apologies. I'm not a grifter. If you want to call me a grifter, I'll live with it. I'm fighting for my family. But I need help. But I'm driving down the road after this battle, and a deer I'm doing probably about 55 down the road. A deer jumps right out in front of me, and I lock up the brakes, hit the horn, and it barely misses the front of my car and gets clipped by the car in the lane directly to my left, spins and goes like 4 lanes over and just totals the front end of this other car. Now, they were fine. Their car was not. The devil sent that deer. If you knew how many slings and arrows and missiles have been launched at me, you'd be like, okay, the devil finally shot one that didn't land, you know? And I was like, after my heart stopped beating, I was like, the devil missed. My my situation is changing. But that's kind of the season that I'm in. But enough about that. All of my drama has kept me off the internet for a while, and I just made my return this last weekend, commenting on this whole issue of that knucklehead on YouTube and Twitter who was promoting eugenics. If you haven't seen that, please check that out. But then I also saw this video of James White. Now, if you don't know who James White is, you're new to the channel, but he's a reformed, Calvinistic leaning. I don't know if you want to properly call him reformed, but he's in that category, that camp. He's in that flavor. Calvinism, God is sovereign. God has decreed everything. I mean, he goes into great detail about all the evils that he believes God has decreed. There was no evil that occurred that God did not think up and decree in eternity past. He believes in that there are infants that God does not save, that are damned. Now, there are elect infants that are saved and unelect infants that aren't. It's just not the best representation of Christianity. Now, I use the quotes because what he teaches is nothing remotely Christian. And I've also had on Jacob Hansen, who had a debate with James White. Now, Jacob is a Mormon. I don't consider Mormons Christian. Just like Calvinists and Mormons are within the broader context of Christian, because they talk about Christ and they appeal to Christ, their doctrines are fundamentally, in my estimation, contra foundational Christian beliefs. So, doesn't mean that they're not sincere. Doesn't mean that they don't love and respect Jesus. Just they're not historic Orthodox Christianity. And so in this video, I'm going to be playing a conversation between a Calvinist who I strongly object to his beliefs and Mormons who I strongly object to their beliefs. This is not an endorsement of either position, okay? But in this situation, I'm inclined to lean more to the Mormons in this discussion, not their theology, but in this discussion. And I think you're going to see why. It's very interesting. But welcome to the channel. Let's see here. Let me pull this up and we will get this started. And again, super chats are welcome. Any sort of questions that you have, we'll do our best to make time for those in this program. There we go. All right. Let me know if you have any sound or video issues. I think everything's going to be working fine, but let's jump into this.
Welcome to the Dividing Line on a Thursday. As I have announced, today we're going to be joined by Jonah Barnes and Austin Falter from Ward Radio. A couple of weeks ago, I played a parody song that they did on Calvinism. Now, this is a program somehow associated with Brigham Young University and relevant to Mormonism. It had
Yeah, Amber, thank you for that. I need to break the habit because time is critical. So for this program and tomorrow, please, I'm going to be doing streaming tomorrow and even into this weekend. Please do not use the Give Send Go link. Please do not do super chats. If you can, please use the PayPal link so that I can get the funds immediately because I have to have those by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So if you can, great. If you can't and it's easier for you, then thank you. That will help because this is a long battle, but that's a great point, Amber. Thank you.
Connection to Jacob Hansen's appearance on the Allie Beth Stuckey show. And some connection to me. I was mentioned in some fashion, evidently because of the debate that I had with Jacob Hansen in Ogden a few weeks before that, around General Conference time, so beginning of April. And so we played it then, and I said, hey, I'd be happy to talk with you all about this. And they contacted me fairly quickly and said, yeah, let's do it. So before we stress Rich out completely trying to get everybody on the screen at the same time, which I guess we haven't done this way before, it's a bit of a challenge. Hopefully we can put this up on the screen and we will listen to the song.
Anyway, all right, that enough. That kind of boring me. I hope you're not getting bored. Basically, what happened was couple Mormon guys did a parody of Mad World. I don't know if you remember. I think was it a Tears for Fears song that then back in the early 2000s was covered in kind of a down-tempo, melancholy sort of way. If I remember correctly, I think they used this in the Gears of War trailer back in like the early Xbox days. But these Mormon gentlemen took this and they changed the lyrics to bring a criticism against Calvinism. And so that's where we're leaning into this. And I think their song is generally well done. I love parody, I love satire, I love music, I love critiquing Calvinism. And so this is particularly something that I liked. So let's see if he'll jump into it.
I saw, and maybe I'll get an explanation for this, the original clip that I saw was much briefer, and it was posted by Jacob Hansen. It was one of those shorts from YouTube, so it's in the shape of a phone screen. And it said more about me, but it didn't have the whole song. So I'm not sure how that came to be, but someone eventually provided the link to the entirety of the classical musical presentation, shall we say. So I'm going to go ahead and play it so we don't have to replay it. I have the transcript as well, so we can look at that if we want to. I didn't think about actually asking them to reprise their very skillful musical presentation.
Okay, I'm going to just hold down the super speed button until we get there. This is kind of a boring intro. Apologies.
I haven't heard that they've been offered any record contracts or anything, so maybe it didn't go the way they wanted. But anyway, so here's what I played a couple weeks ago that we'll talk about here.
Final song
by declaring Allie Beth Stuckey's gospel.
Yeah, that's
the wonderful good news.
The good news.
The good news.
Of Allie Beth.
Allie Beth Stuckey's gospel. Here we go.
This is good.
All around me is predestination. Dead creations. Trying hard, but it's already chosen. Going nowhere. I already know their tragic outcome. To my glory, to my glory. Wasteful weeping with their sob story. Don't you bore me, don't you bore me. And I find it kind of funny that you don't get to choose. You're just a lump of clay created for my use. I didn't come to save you, or you, or you, or you. You'll face eternal torment, and that's very, very good news.
Oh,
Good.
good job, guys. That's brilliant.
15 centuries of wasted hoping. All emotion, all emotion. Calvin exegeted all my wisdom. Sit and listen, sit and listen. I created you for kicks and giggles. You can thank me, you can thank me. I will force my grace on whom I will. Don't come at me, don't come at me. And I find it kind of funny that you don't get to choose. You're just a lump of clay created for my use. I didn't come to save you, or you, or you, or you. You'll face eternal torment, and that's very, very good news. Good news. Good news. Good news.
Okay.
Now, see, that's talent. See, now the Mormons must be homeschooling their children and making sure that they're getting a music lesson, because these guys can sing, they can play piano, they can play guitar. Now, I disagree with Mormon theology, but generally, like, they're very decent and sweet people. They're very family focused. You want one for a neighbor in case something happens. I'll just leave it at that. That's hilarious. Now, obviously, their criticism here is of exhaustive theistic determinism, right? Where God from all eternity has chosen to save this person, but not you or you or you. And that's very, very good news, right? And they're making fun of the fact that there is no gospel in Calvinism. There is no good news in theistic determinism. It's just fatalism. That's really what they're arguing here. And they did so with like a lighthearted, humorous, and I think they everything that they set out to do, I think they did well. So bravo. I can applaud that. That's good work. Doesn't mean I'm endorsing everything that they did, everything that they believe. But that, ladies and gentlemen, let's at least acknowledge that's legitimate. That's good work. And now, again, we're going to be discussing Calvinism, so there may be some things that may come up in the course of this discussion that sensitive ears and people that don't understand what God has decreed all things means, just you may want to be careful here. I don't have any plans on dropping any swear words or crazy stuff tonight, but you never know. I mean, this is Idol Killer. Things happen. But let's bring this in and listen to what James White's reaction was to this.
Hey, so there you go. Hopefully we won't get dinged by YouTube for copyrights and things like that, given the context here. But as stranger things have happened. So now the big test for Mr. Pierce is to see if we can bring our guests on. I've got our keyboardist there. Do you normally have a keyboard in front of you during the program?
I try to always have a keyboard in front of me all the time.
Okay,
in the car, police don't like it, but
that was a first. That was a first on that one.
There it's working. It's so whoever talks. So if you talk over each other, nobody will see you, I imagine. But that was actually a first, huh? Okay, all right. So who wrote the song?
We both did. We started jamming out, and we got the idea. I think the idea came because we were like, what if we wrote a song from the perspective of the God of Calvinism? We've been learning some about Calvinism lately, and we kind of find some of it problematic and depressing. And so we found a very depressing song, and then it just flowed once we found that part.
And just a point of order, Ward Radio has zero affiliation with BYU or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It is
that's true. Yeah.
totally independent channel. But so I have to disagree. When we went to write the song, something in my nature just compelled me to write it. I didn't really even choose to write it. Just my nature just moved me to write it. And so it was just it was like predestined to happen, you know?
Well,
you ever been in the zone like that?
There's
You guys got me to snort a little bit there. All right. So the Mormons are again coming at James, being like, hey, don't come at me, right? I'm not the one who is saying this. God from all eternity is the one who put these words in my mouth. Don't get mad at me, bro. You know, I was decreed effectually. I had to do this. And I wanted to do this because I was decreed from all eternity to do this because God wanted me to do this. And so this is pretty funny. So yeah, let's continue though. So James, oh man, I don't know if you guys saw that. I just had my window minimized.
Something in my nature just compelled me to write it. I didn't really even choose to write it. Just my nature just moved me to write it. And so it was just it was like predestined to happen, you know?
Well,
you ever been in the zone like that? It was like that.
There's more truth to what you just said than I think you probably know, but we might get into that.
So James, I hope you guys can see that. I'm sorry, I took it off the screen and didn't realize it. James is saying there's more truth in what you're saying than you realize. So they're like, hey, look, here's our criticism. You're holding to exhaustive theistic determinism. God from all eternity decreed meticulously and effectually, literally everything, including every aspect of this parody. And like, don't get mad at us. And James is like, there's more truth in that than you may be willing to realize. It's like, can they realize it? Like, did God not decree for them not to realize it? I mean, but what you're going to see is how James has to grapple and address this particular criticism within the Mormons coming against Calvinism and offering it. And I want you to see James's response and the way that he handles this. What is his response? I mean, they're bringing a criticism. You're saying essentially you're arguing for theistic fatalism, but you're saying that God has decreed literally everything that comes to pass, and these are the entailments of that. These are non-Christian, horrific entailments of that. So what is James's response to all of this?
Preach.
So, all right. So you came up with the song because you were learning. What were you? Was it because you listened to my debate with Jacob? Because there wasn't all that much in the Allie Beth Stuckey relatable program. That was a lot more on other issues.
Well, I think the word debate is a little generous with the Jacob Hansen beatdown. But when he talked to ABS. And she said, oh, the better news, she had this line at the end where she says, so what's your good news? And Jacob bore this beautiful testimony about how God came to save us and we can enter a relationship with him and Jesus is our savior. And Allie Beth Stuckey, look, I've been on camera. I know sometimes you fuck.
Yeah, so what Jacob did was he borrowed from historic Christianity and the historic understanding for the work of Christ. He borrowed from that. That's not traditional Mormonism or uniquely Mormon. And so he presented something that would be more of like a synthesis of historic Christianity from a Mormon perspective to Allie Beth Stuckey. Now, Allie Beth Stuckey rejects historic Christianity because she's not Mormon, she's Calvinist. And so she doesn't want to affirm this idea that that there is a universal provision for all, that God is not willing that any should perish, that Christ assumed the totality of human nature and therein made provision and redemption for the totality of humanity. And she doesn't want to accept those historic, redemptive models because she holds to PSA, penal substitution, limited atonement, total depravity, unconditional election. So she's Calvinist. And so here you have a Mormon, very sneakily, very crafty, taking historic Christianity and its understanding for the work of Christ and creating a Mormon synthesis and giving that to Allie Beth Stuckey as a sort of here's the gospel as understood within Mormonism. And Allie Beth Stuckey has a almost allergic reaction. And listen to what he says that is her response to this.
Judge up and say things that are stupid. But she says, well, the better news is that we don't need your little ordinances or rituals, and there is a hell. And that's the deal. And I thought it was hilarious that she's like, hey, great news, there's hell. I mean, that's funny. That's objectively hilarious. So we thought, let's put that into the song. The song is actually written by Tears for Fears. The music is written by Tears for Fears, redone by Gary Jules.
That's what it was. It was Gary Jules. So the Calvinist who doesn't know if they're elect or not, if their system were true, because they were created unable to rightly understand spiritual truths by their own admission and their own theological claims. That's what total depravity holds. They're born spiritually dead, spiritually blind, ignorant, unable to respond to God. They are hard-hearted and dead. And so they're created, as John MacArthur said, pre-programmed to believe lies, unable to recognize the truth. And then they're going to turn around and from this position of ignorance, assert that they now rightly understand spiritual things and trust me, bro, I'm elect. But if they were consistent at all with their view, they would have to say, we don't know if we're elect or you're elect or anything. And for all they know, Calvinism is one of those big falsehoods that their totally depraved condition is leading them to affirm. And instead, maybe Islam is true and they're just rejecting it because they're totally depraved. Do you see how that undercutting defeater robs them of any justification from an epistemic sense, and they can't make any justified claim of true belief? And so, the Calvinist is completely abandoned reason and rationality. Now, there's one thing about actual Christianity. I'm not talking about the Mormon take. I'm not talking about the Calvinist take. I'm talking about historic Christianity. Christ is the center of this. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And you cannot have the truth or the way or life without reason and rationality. Without reason and rationality, that's a fundamental aspect of truth. And so whenever your theological system is attacking truth, when it's making truth unknowable, when it has to gaslight its adherents to, well, if you want to know if you're elect, just affirm what I'm saying because I know I'm elect. And if you can recognize what I'm saying is true, then that's a good sign that maybe you've been regenerated. It's just a form of spiritual gaslighting. And that's what you're going to see so often within the Calvinists. Which one is rational logic? Let's make sure we boot that guy. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. I don't have a problem if people come on the program, want to disagree. This is a free program. My comments are open. I don't shut my comment section down. I don't do invitation only to my live chat like James White and some of the other Reformed guys because they can't handle pushback. I welcome it. But what I don't like is trolls. So if you see somebody that's constantly trolling, if you see somebody that is pushing falsehood and in an unrepentant state, give them a rebuke, give them a warning. But if they are consistently trolling, give them the boot. Yeah. But thank you guys. But let's get back to this and let's see what James's view is here.
In an acoustic version, we just changed the lyrics.
Right. And what was the name of the song originally?
Mad World.
Mad World. I think I've heard it at some point in my life. It was familiar.
I think they play it in Reformist congregations. It's like an opening hymn.
Yeah, not really. Not
They play it in Reformed congregations. I think James needs to change his Radio Free Geneva song and use their version of Mad World. I think that would make it a lot.
really. And I don't think they play it in most ward meetings either. But anyway, okay, so I just got to ask, did you hear any of the comments that I made about it on the dividing line?
I did. I think you at least, was that your live when you were traveling, right? You did a live stream and you
I think so. Yeah.
Briefly. Yeah. So yeah, I watched that program. I think you were speaking mostly actually about a run-in you had with a Catholic apologist, though. You kept bringing it back to that, and I'm not unfamiliar with the context there, but I agree with some of the issues we're having on social media, where people do care more about clicks and views at times than they do about truth. I respond to that. I get that. We deal with the same issue in our space. So
yeah, I think I was talking about Bishop Jaxie, if that sounds familiar, and just the people that just post stuff for clicks and engagement and stuff like that. But yeah, I used it as an example. I don't remember how much I went into it, but so do you think that the parody, do you think that a good parody is based upon accurate representation?
Okay, so now what you're going to see is here James is starting to play his hand, okay? The criticism that he's going to be levying here against these Mormon gentlemen is that their criticism, their parody, isn't based in an accurate portrayal of Calvinism. Now, what James is saying in an unstated way is the only acceptable criticism of Calvinism is agreement. I mean, that's it. Because what you'll find is there's nothing in their lyrics that he's going to actually push back on, because he believes God from all eternity decreed literally everything, which was the heart of their criticism. Whether it's the salvation or the damnation of infants, whether it's bridge collapses, tsunamis, traffic accidents, war, child abuse, James believes God meticulously and effectually decreed it, ensuring that it obtained. And so what the Mormonist is saying is there's no good news in that. What you're doing is you're making evil. Now, they may not have said this in the song, but the implication is that the Calvinist is making evil an eternal attribute, which God is expressing into his creation. So therefore, the regenerate can go, oh, look, over here's all this evil. We're receiving the good. And if God doesn't display all of his attributes, how would we know that he is good? And so we must praise him, right? That's the issue. But what James is going to do is he's going to completely sidestep the criticism embedded in the parody song and say, well, that's not an accurate portrayal. Now, he's not going to tell us how it's not accurate. He's not going to tell us that Calvinism doesn't teach theistic determinism, meticulous determinism, that it doesn't teach election of and reprobation. He's not going to actually engage in any substantive criticism. Instead, he's just going to go, well, that's not accurate. So what he's really arguing is in order to offer a legitimate parody, you have to agree with us. The sad thing is the parody is like offering a criticism within their claims.
Yeah, that's what made it funny.
That it's not
That's
a
what
good
made it
parody?
resonate. It made it resonate with people because it was pretty ironically accurate.
It was good.
So you do
Well,
believe
job,
to
Mormons.
help. I mean, I don't want it to. The reason it's we can write it like this. There doesn't seem to be good news for those going to hell in Calvinism. If this was written from the God of Calvinism to the elect, it would be a very different song. But this is, I mean, from my perspective, from my understanding, and this is the good news of Calvinism for those going to hell. This is kind of laying out what's happening to maybe me or the Jacob Hansons of the world who
Jacob Hansen.
are reprobate. All right.
When I think of hellbound, I think Jacob Hansen. That's what I think.
Okay, so I just got to ask you. So you actually think that the representation you made has some level of accuracy to it? Because I can tell you, as a Reformed theologian writing in this field for 35 plus years, you weren't even God makers close.
So James doesn't say why they're wrong. He just says they're wrong. He'll say they're wrong in a myriad of different ways. You're wrong. You weren't correct. You missed it. You weren't accurate. But he never says how. There's no substance. It's just hot air. So how in the world do you come in and listen to these guys say, okay, well, look, in theistic determinism, you have the elect and the unelect, and you're headed to hell because God didn't choose you, and that's the good news of Calvinism. And James is like, that's not accurate. Well, how is it not accurate? It's not representing us correctly. How is it not representing us correctly? Have you read my book? That's what you're dealing with here. And it shows how the Calvinist apologetics fail. I've got an entire video. Chad Wright, long bearded dude, North Georgia. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast and was telling Joe, you can't even believe the truth, right? He's a Calvinist. I did a video explaining how Calvinist apologetics fail. You can see it here on the channel. You'll see him in the thumbnail, and next to him it says anti-gospel, anti-reason, anti-biblical, anti-Christ, and it's explaining the problems with the Calvinist apologetic. All they can say is, you see all the evil in the world? God did it. Isn't that wonderful? That's the Calvinist apologetic. And so what we're seeing here is when pressed on it, James is unable to rebut it. He just has to say, not accurate. Well, how's it not accurate? Not accurate. How's it not accurate? Not accurate. He has no meaningful rebuttal because apologetics from a Calvinistic worldview fail. Here's how they fail. Out of the gate, you're coming in assuming that your entire worldview is false and that you rightly understand spiritual truth and the person you're debating rightly understands spiritual truth. So for you to even engage in an apologetic as a Calvinist, you are disregarding the T of tulip, the total depravity. You are jettisoning the foundational doctrinal starting point of your system to even engage in apologetics. So anytime they're going to engage in apologetics, they've already waved the white flag and go, our worldview is false. Now we want to fight about it and try and convince you that it's true. So that's what we're witnessing here. And it's just downhill from there. But I got to say, the Mormon guys are cheerful. Their smiles, they're sarcastic, which I love. They're sticking the knife in the ribs a little bit and twisting it, but they're doing it with a smile and a little sardonic expression. In this whole exchange, they win on the optics front across the board. James looks like a cantankerous, grumpy old man saying, get off my lawn. And these guys are like, we're across the street on the sidewalk. What's your problem? We're riding our bikes. And like, why are you picking on us kids? That's the way that this comes across.
To what you are actually attempting to do. I mean, you're light years off. So I just have to ask, when I started studying Mormonism, I grabbed the other room. I grabbed some of the books that I bought at the LDS bookstore, and I was a student in college. I had nothing.
So James's response here is, hey, look at these books that I've read, and I'm offering a criticism of the doctrines and the history of Mormonism. And you should have done that in your parody song, but really you should have done that while agreeing with us. It's like, it's a parody. It's a criticism. Come on, James. Like, for him to even try and argue this line of like rebuttal to this is it's kind of embarrassing.
I was newly married. I was making $168 a week. And I'm buying A Marvelous Work and a Wonder by LeGrand Richards. And I didn't bring all 3 volumes of Doctrines of Salvation by Joseph Fielding Smith. And of course, we've got Articles of Faith, Talmage, Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith. And of course, back then, you could still walk around with Mormon doctrine without being spit at by Mormon missionaries. So it was a different day, really was, back in those.
These guys are like, hey, your view has no gospel in it. You're saying that people elected to hell from all eternity is good news. And he's like, Mormon missionaries spitting at me. I'm reading books. Why aren't you reading books? Why aren't we doing? It's like, again, like in the optics, James just lost this on every level. Now, if you're just joining us, let's see. Oh, we had some super chats. Let me take a quick break here and go through some of these. Knee Science, thank you for the super. Says, my life will forever be different because of, man, dude, that's sweet. Thank you. No more wonky PSA Calvinist lens. I hope to be a father in the next year or so. They'll know God's heart. Dude, I wish you nothing but the best. Healthy pregnancy, no complications. And I will say that being a father will change you in ways that you cannot express or anticipate. But be patient. Don't view your child as a little reprobate. View them as innocent. Understand that the heart of God, and when you're holding that child, you get a little bit of a glimpse of what it is to see through a father's eyes, and that transforms you more into his image and likeness. It's a beautiful thing. We make a mess of it often, but that's a beautiful thing. I hope you get to experience it. That's awesome. Thank you for the super. Elle says, sorry, no PayPal, but prayers from Canada. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. And it's cool. And this is a weird age that we live in, man. I'm sitting here, I'm living in wherever I'm living, and you're up in Canada, and we're sitting here having a conversation and talking, and it's like we're able to build relationships with people we may never meet this side of heaven, and exchange ideas and beliefs and disagreements and agreements and prayer requests. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, we're living in the future, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. We're living in the future. We got one more super here from Glenn. Thank you so much. It says, I sent you some money to your PayPal, Warren. Okay, thanks. I'll check that out. It says, keep up the good fight. Also, that Potter's Freedom on your desk looks nice. Is it autographed? Where did that go? Where is that? What did I do with it? Now, my buddy Glenn there, he got me, this is awesome. He got me the Potter's Freedom by the Honorable James White. And you'll notice that it's autographed by both James White and Leighton Flowers. Yeah. So the Potter's Freedom, and look at this. The Potter's Promise. See if I can find it. Also autographed by both Leighton Flowers and James White. That's awesome. I love that. So thank you, Glenn. Yeah, I appreciate you pulling that off for me, man. That was special. I love that. I got to figure out a way of getting it framed or something and just put it up on the wall. But I love that. Thank you. One more super here. It says, hey, this is 9.5 Finger Nigel. I sent you a previous comment. Be blessed. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for the super. And says, I feel impressed to bless you yet again. Let's do it. Man, thank you so much. Really, truly. Battle to battle to battle is so wearying. And you talked about being a father and what that can do. And you go, I would gladly die for my children. I would gladly work myself to the bone. I would gladly destroy my health. I would gladly give everything I have so that they know that they're loved and that they're in a safe environment. And it's difficult. This has been a ongoing war since, I mean, officially it launched in 2022, but it had been ongoing even before then. But I feel like I'm so close to the finish line. I feel like, you know, this is like maybe the last big thing before we finally get resolution. And trying not to lose heart, you know. There are days where I just go, the system. But it's all we have. We have to rely on it. And so that's what I'm doing. And just praying that it doesn't fail my children. But there'll be trials in this world. There'll be difficulties. There will be things that feel like you are being ground to dust, things that are destroying you, that are crushing you. But I will restate this over and over and over again, that when you're in the midst of suffering, when you're in the midst of hurting, when you're in the midst of trials and tribulations, remember, we don't have a God who goes, they're hurting. That'd be nice. He'd be aware. We don't have a God who goes, hey, I'm sorry you're hurting, right? Then we'd have an aware God who has a little bit of sympathy or maybe even empathy. I feel bad you're hurting. We have a God who assumed the totality of our nature and assumed suffering to show us how to walk through it. And then he said, follow me. And he led us through suffering, through death, and out the other side. And when you encounter your Savior, when you are on your metaphorical cross, and you see him on his next to you, and you realize there are no nails holding him up. That's his love. I got to stop talking. I'm going to start crying. You're not crying on a video about a parody about Calvinism? Come on.
Days, because he was still around and he was feared, believe you me. He really was. He took a tract from me once at General Conference. That was an interesting experience. Anyway, I read all these. I was a radio announcer working my way through college. So sometimes we had California Angels baseball games. It would last for 3 hours. And all I had to do during the baseball games was press a button every half hour to play the station ID. So I had plenty of time to do my homework, and I had plenty of time to mark these up and read them. And I think everybody here was at least an apostle of the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, if not one of the prophets at some point or another. Richards wasn't, but he was an apostle. And
James is doing the same thing to these Mormons with the parody song that he did to Jacob Handsome. And Jacob, I said handsome. No. That's not a Freudian slip. He's a good looking dude, right? We all like Jacob. But Jacob Hansen, don't turn that into a YouTube short, please. Jacob Hansen in his debate with James White, Jacob is there to debate Calvinism with James, and James turns it into a Mormonism bad debate. He completely abandons the debate topic and tries to go after Mormons. Now, here's what happens. The Mormon says Calvinism bad. James goes, I don't really want to talk about that. Mormonism bad. What does the viewer walk away with? One or both of these are bad, right? Now, the Mormons often will defend their position and argue against James. So maybe the average viewer says both are bad, or maybe Calvinism is bad. But James does not do a very good job of defending Calvinism with these Mormons or with Jacob. He completely sidesteps his own obligation, his own burden. And here he is going, your criticism is bad. And they're like, how? And he goes, I read these books on Mormonism, and Mormonism's bad. Okay, you're both bad. That doesn't tell us how Calvinism escapes the criticism, James. Like, come on, but this is the caliber of the last remaining defenders of Reformed theology on a popular level. It's pathetic. Like, when everybody Calvinists get upset at me and they're like, Warren, you're always, beating up Calvinists. Like, you need to find something new to pick on. It's like, well, I talk about other things, but I will say, I do worry what sort of content I will have to search out. What other topics are there that I can talk about? Because guys like James are, they're thinning out. They're either getting busted in adultery like Stephen Lawson and losing their ministry. They're dying in disgrace like John MacArthur or R.C. Sproul. So who's left? This is it. And so when he's gone, then the battle goes to the local churches, and that's where the average everyday individual is going to have to step up and go, Calvinism is anti-Christ, anti-gospel, anti-biblical, and anti-reason, and you don't even believe your own worldview. And that's where the battles are going to start having to happen, is in the pews over coffee and muffins and semi-cordial smiles with open Bibles and Bible studies. But the day I think is coming where people are going to start tuning out these sorts of exchanges, because one, I will say, and this isn't just Calvinism, I think the overall Christian apologetic online is really pathetic, right? I think it's bad. I think online Christian YouTube content is really abysmal. And I want to elevate it. I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job. I'm trying. But I will say that the average online Christian content is really subpar. And the old school, you had gatekeepers like James and, I've got my prestigious title. I graduated here and I've written a book. That group is dying out, and it's being supplanted and replaced by, hey, I just bought a webcam. What do you think? So it's like the arguments are being rehashed, but then butchered. And I got to say, like, online Christian apologetics and online Christian discourse is it just continues to mutate into like this ugly little deformed, I don't know. I said average, Amber. I'm not saying everybody. I'm included in this, right? I think I'm a little above average, but I will say I'm seeing a trend where the intellectual side of Christianity, the rigorous in-house debates where you're like, oh, I consider you a brother. I consider you a brother. We disagree on this. Or I don't consider you a brother because of this, but let's have a rigorous theological discussion. It's turning into name calling. You fat cow, you da da da, and it's like, this is the state of online discourse. Like, I've had so many people come in and be like, hey, Warren, are you going to take a stand against all these Protestants and their bad apologetics against Orthodoxy. And I've had other people come in and they're like, are you going to take a stand against these really bad Orthodox apologetics against Protestants? And I'm like, generally, I think it's just all bad. I mean, there are some examples I think on both sides that are still doing a good job. I'm not naming names. I'm not here to start any unnecessary feuds, but I will say that the general state overwhelmingly is bad. And I worry what sort of impact this is going to have on the cause for Christ. I mean, if you're my kids, my kids' age, they watch a lot of brain rot YouTube stuff, and like they have the attention spans of gnats. They're beautiful and sweet, and I love them, but like trying to get them to watch an 1.5 hour long movie instead of a 3-minute YouTube short is like pulling teeth. Partly it's age, right? But it's also a generational thing. And like when I grew up on MTV. And on MTV, there was a segment, I forget the exact statistic, but they did a study in the late 90s, and they said that on average, there's a cut, meaning a jump to a new image. I think it was like every 5 seconds on MTV. And back then they were worried what that was going to do to our attention span. So maybe it's along the same lines. Hold on one second. Losing my voice. But I worry what sort of content are we going to be leaving our children, the next generation, kids that are growing up and they're just inundated with all this information, and all they hear is just, well, you're ugly and you're a cow and you're stupid and you're dumb and what an idiot. And, and you get all that back and forth, just name calling. And then maybe there's some truth in the middle of that, but it seems to get lost in the messaging. And if I, as a Christian, want to tune that out, I go, well, what is the next generation growing up that maybe doesn't know the Lord, or, is kind of maybe looking into it? What are they going to do when they start seeing that? So, I'm hoping we can all kind of come together as a community and start trying to hold ourselves to a higher standard. Now, I have no problem with criticism, as you can tell, right? But I think it needs to be done where you're not just trying to destroy the other person. Like even old James here, right? Like we have a rivalry going back many years now. But I don't want James to burn in hell, or I don't want his ministry to suffer. Like I want him to draw closer to the Lord and know the holy and living God, and be able to use his platform effectively to transform and change lives. Like I want James to be blessed and be a blessing. But in the meantime, I have to criticize and call out those things that I think are opposed to the truth of Christianity. But I don't know. It's just kind of what I've been thinking about lately when I consider the state of the Christian apologetic industry.
I was seeking to understand accurately. Yeah. I had read a dozen Christian books on Mormonism. I had run out of them. There weren't any more to read. And I saw these references. So I bought the documentary History of the Church, scared my wife to death when I came home with the Journal of Discourses strapped to the back of my motorcycle. $69.95 in 1982 was a lot of money for me.
Jeez, but holy moly.
Yeah. And in fact, it went out of print for a while after that. So I was awfully glad that we grabbed it when we did. But yeah, so I'm sitting here going, I'm reading Christians talking about Mormonism. I think I need to know what the Mormons actually say about Mormonism. Now, nobody told me to do that. I didn't have anyone guiding me in this. There was nobody, even at my Christian college, that knew what apologetics was, to be honest with you. That just wasn't something that Southern Baptists were interested in at that time.
Yeah, I agree with Amber. I think rather than focusing on like a lot of apologetic content, I think it's better if we get into the historical, intellectual, philosophical, theological positioning. I think a lot of the stuff that falls under apologetics is really, I don't know, maybe there's a space for it, when you're offering a defense for Christianity, like, when you're trying to defend against the claims of Islam or atheism. I'm not going to say there's never a place for apologetics, but I think the current state of apologetics is pretty trash. Oh, hey, more super. Thank you so much for all that you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've learned so much from yours and Leighton's channels recently. I'd really like to contribute to your PayPal. What mark do you have to hit tonight for me to pray? Okay. I hope you're sitting down. I have to have $4,000 by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern. Ideally before then. And that's phase one. Phase one. When this is over, I'll be a complete open book. Like, I can show where the money went. Like, I'm not out here. I don't have a Maserati. Like, I'm struggling for groceries because every dollar I have is either going to bills or battles. But that's what I'm up against. And if I don't get it by 5 p.m. tomorrow, one of the orders that I've been trying to get since, I think October of 2024 would be rescinded, and I would have to either start all over or may not even be able to continue the fight. It's that bad. I'm not allowed to go into too much detail. I will say I don't think I did anything wrong in any of this. I think I was kind of caught in the middle of some. I have to be very careful in what I say. I'll stop there. Amy, thank you so much for the super. May the God of all creation take your pile of Legos and create the most amazing fortress for you and your children to live in peace. Team PayPal. Thank you so much. Yes. I'm very optimistic too. Like I'm in the middle of like feeling like I'm having my chest ripped open, like in that scene from Braveheart at the end. I hope I'm not spoiling it for people that haven't seen it. That's kind of how I feel like I've been living in. But I feel like the Lord has led me into a position where if I can survive this, then I might be able to start turning things around in a pretty substantial way. So I'm optimistic. You have to be. I mean, it's either, believe you're going to navigate through this and overcome it and life's going to get better, or just go die in a corner, and I'm refusing to give up. So, but thank you. Thank you, Amy. One more super. Got that new member badge. Let's go. Hey, y'all ride. Welcome to the member. What do we call this? Idol Killer member. What we need a name. I don't think we ever named it. We just call it members. The Disciples Cornerstone. Since you just joined, you need to come up with a really good name to call our membership. All right. I'm delegating. It's all on you. So make it good. Did you watch JP versus Alex Soren last night? I saw parts of it. I've not watched all of it. From what I saw, it was a little one-sided. I'm not going to comment beyond that. I'm friends with both gentlemen. I only saw a little bit, and so I don't want to say anything about the overall debate until I watch the whole thing. And I'm not going to say it was one-sided on whose side, but I need to watch that. I'm a bit of a weird dude, aren't I? I mean, I can be friends with an Orthodox attorney, and I can be friends with, evangelical like JP, and then I can also, disagree with James White here. So I don't know. I try to be ecumenical.
And so I was self-guided, and I'm just like, I need to know what they actually believe. I need to be able to understand their language, because we have a massive language barrier between us.
Sure.
We use the same words and mean completely different things by them. And so it's a language problem. I sense that in the very first meeting I had with Elders Reed and Reese in July of 1982. I had just gotten married. I was 19. She was.
James White is like, your parody song is not accurate. How's it not accurate? I read all these Mormon books. I did this in 1982. Do we see the James White shuffle? Do we see the obfuscation? It's pretty standard. What's so funny was, like, when I was like watching James early on, I had like a very high view of his intellectual rigor and his debate prowess. But I will say, like, having watched him a lot, I see a lot of the same common moves. And like, once you start to see it, you feel like Neo in the Matrix. And all of a sudden you're like, I know Kung Fu. You can start to see the moves pretty obvious. And you're like, oh, not a good move.
Was 18, and the missionaries came after her sister, who's her identical twin. And she asked me to come over, and I met with Elders Reed and Reese on a Monday and a Thursday, read at least 2, maybe 3 books on Mormonism in between those days. And we had 3-hour-long conversations. I eventually invited them over to my little apartment that we had and made my...
I do not have a nonprofit. I think the most cost effective is, I think it's through Give Send Go. I think Give Send Go is probably the most cost effective, but expedience wise, PayPal is what I'm asking for the immediate need, because I can get a hold of those funds quickly. Whereas with Give Send Go, it can take up to a week to get the funds out of that account. And so I have to trust in God for a miracle.
World famous yummy burritos for them. Actually, it's sort of more like a chimichanga, since they were deep fried, but probably not healthy at all. Anyway.
It's the best kind of chimichanga.
Oh, yeah. Well, a chimichanga that isn't deep fried is not a chimichanga. But anyway. So the point is, I don't know how many volumes I have in my library.
I will say that Mormon just has a certain glow about him, doesn't he? Look at this. Let me minimize my screen here. Look at that. I got to step up my lighting game. I got to step up my... Remember back in the day when I had... when I had the whole Tron or like the 1980s disco vibe going on, I was getting at my old office, I had like the little wall panels and the LED lights and all this. This Mormon gentleman has inspired me to step up my lighting game. This is kind of boring. I mean, look at my background. Hold on, let me take this guy out. Look at that. I mean, motivation is what gets you started. Discipline is what keeps you going. 10 things that require 0 talent. I took those from my old office and brought them into the home, and they've motivated me. But I think it might be time to step up the eventually. I've got more pressing matters right now, but eventually I can set goals and dream, right? I need to have like a really nice lighting system behind me. I want to look slick like this guy. I mean, and I'm not saying that sarcastically like that. If you look at the 2 images, he's well lit. He looks engaging. He looks approachable. Whereas with James, it's kind of flat, kind of like my image here. So I need to step it up. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
On Mormonism from Mormons, but it numbers in the thousands. And I haven't read all of them, but I read these very, very, very carefully. So that when I speak on the subject, I can accurately represent the other side. And I don't know if any of you have ever taken a look at this book here.
Does anybody else feel sorry for this Mormon gentleman as he's like, hey, you were going to have a criticism of the substance of our song, and instead you're just telling us about how you read books and how you try to be accurate, but you're not telling us where we were inaccurate. Like, does anybody else feel a little sorry for this guy? I feel like he came here expecting this. Like, I don't think this caught him off guard. I mean, he's seen James White's tactics. He saw how he handled Jacob Hansen. All right. But I'm like, you know, I kind of think he was hoping maybe for something a little more substantive. And then he got there and was like, no, it's just going to be the same old James. All right. Ben, thank you so much for the super. I have maybe a strange question, but I have to ask. I've been studying things I've not heard growing up from your channel. I have a number of questions on your favorite subjects. Dynamic omniscience, PSA, divine simplicity. Do you do call-ins? I've never set up a call-in, but I can do this if you promise not to swear or go too crazy. Tell you what, let's get a little wild tonight. There you go. Click on the link, and I'll verify that you're who you are, and then we'll talk. How about that? Just let's not say anything that would get me deplatformed, right?
Is the Mormon my brother? Have you ever seen it?
No.
Oh, okay. This book came out in 1997.
Hey, I was born in 1997. That's a good
Oh my
year.
gosh.
I graduated high school in 96. I remember in 1996 going to the McDonald's drive-thru. I was on work release from my high school, my senior year, and I went to the drive-thru, and the young lady working there called me sir. And I was like, sir, I look like a kid. And I was being carded for rated R movies up until like my early 20s. That time frame to now happened so quick. And now I'm talking to people and they're like, oh yeah, oh, I was born in the year 2000. I'm like, you look old. Oh my gosh, how much older do I look? You know, you kind of forget. Yeah. All right, enough about that. It happens.
You're a child.
Wow. Yeah, I noticed you've got some.
Oh, okay. No, you're good. Ben says, I'm sorry. Didn't mean tonight. I don't want to derail, but thank you so much. Really appreciate it. No, you're good. Yeah, maybe tomorrow night what we can do is just a call-in show. We'll just do like a chill stream and a relax kind of call-in. Let's set that up, okay? I'll do that. Anybody will be welcome. I say anybody will be welcome. There are a few people, if I see them, I'm going to call them bad names and kick them out of here. But generally, everybody will be welcome.
Gray hair. So you're the elder type guy there.
The senior companion here.
This right here is being a co-host to Cardin Ellis on Ward Radio. That's what this gets you.
Okay. All right. Cool. I understand that. I'd really recommend it to you for one simple reason. It's focused on the doctrine of God. Now, this was pre-Blake Ostler Mormonism.
Oh,
so it was significantly less complicated than it is now. You will find that I spend, and my publisher was a little nervous about this, by the way. Bethany House Publishers is a major Christian publisher. Bethany House is a little nervous. I spent so much time laying out the various levels of authority of statements, making sure that, I went through 5 different levels of authority, and here's what this says, and, walk through the...
I just want to point out that we're now almost 18 minutes into this video where James was objecting to the substance of the criticism of the parody, and he's not told us why. I just want to point that out. And let's see. Do you think we're going to get anything specific? I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Hold on a second. Let me do this. Let me create a YouTube poll. I need to get more interactive on this channel. You know what I mean? Idol Killer we need to step up our production. Okay, hold on a second. What am I doing here? So let me create a poll. That's what I want to do. Let's create a poll. And you know what? Stop that right there. Let me just mess with everybody. There we go. Cool. And let's pause it where I don't look like a doofus. So we're going to create a poll. Let's see. Will James offer specific? How do I word this? Will James offer specific examples of misrepresentation? And then we're going to say no, yes, I was decreed to select this. Actually, no. Let's keep it serious. Let's keep it serious. What do I do here? I want to get rid of that option. How do I get there? It is. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and everybody go ahead and feel free to vote in the poll. There it is. So if you think James, during the course of this rebuttal, will offer any sort of substantive response to this, like, hey, you're misrepresenting us, and they go, how? Let's see if he answers that, right? Because I mean, that's really what the whole point of this video is. So let's do that, and then I'll bring him back on here with his Mormon friends, and boom.
The King Follow Discourse, the Sermon on the Grove, publications of the first presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and statements from the first presidency, the 1916 statement, all the rest of that stuff. They were a little worried about that, but I was like, look, this needs to be done. If it's going to be accurate, then it needs to be done. And so I did. And so maybe that gives you some understanding of why I can sit back and go, okay, I did my homework. Before I put pen to paper, before I wrote a book, before I wrote Letters to a Mormon Elder, Is a Mormon My Brother, before doing debates with Martin Tanner. I mean, good grief. I was on the radio with Van Hale. Is he still alive?
I don't know who that is.
You don't know who Van Hale was? Really?
Should I?
Yes. You probably should. Van was one of the first LDS apologists who would go into Christian spaces back in the 1980s and seek to present the claims of Mormonism by debating Christians on Christian radio. He had a program on KTKK up there in Salt Lake City. I was on it a number of times in the late 80s, early 90s. Even before Martin Tanner. Certainly you know Martin Tanner.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Martin could tell you a little bit more about Van. He's way up there in age now, if he's even still around. I'm not 100% certain he is.
So he's old. Does he have any specifics on what is inaccurate in their criticism? I don't know. We're running low. Look, right now we're at almost the 20-minute mark of I don't think it goes that long. He's going to kick. There we go. I don't want to spoil it. We got a little bit more. Let's speed it up a little bit.
But yeah, I took on Van Hale on K-Life Radio here in Phoenix, and went up there and did live stuff in Salt Lake City and all sorts of stuff. So before I did any of that, guys, I did my homework. And one of the things that Van said to me, and Rich, you were there, after one of the programs we did, was one of the things he said was, I appreciate the fact that you really seek to accurately represent what we believe, and I can tell what you do. And another thing he said was,
how did I miss that the first go round? I must have been listening to this when I was like doing dishes or something. He's dozing off. Oh, you guys, man, y'all are way too much fun. You guys are way too much fun, man. Like, I cannot disagree with Mormonism more, but you guys are likable. All right. See, it's this sort of lighthearted, jovial interaction that will win these sorts of interactions. So on a purely optic standpoint, the Mormons, although also wrong theologically, clearly won this exchange. Okay.
And the other thing is, for as long as I've known you, you've always talked about the same things. You don't chase after. Do you know what the white salamander letter was?
Right.
Yeah.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
That we were around when that first hit, and Mark Hoffman and the whole mess, and all sorts of people went after the white salamander letter, and they're posting and publishing on it. And Jones Santa Tanner didn't. They smelled rotten fish, and so they didn't jump on it. Got to give them credit for that. And we didn't either, mainly because they didn't. I mean, I just had so much respect for their opinion that I'm like, I'm keeping my mouth shut on this one. And of course, they were vindicated by what ended up happening. But the point is, we didn't jump into all that stuff. And what Vance said to us was, you focus on who God is, who Jesus is, what salvation is. That's what you talked about from the first time that I talked with you, and you haven't changed. And Rich and I took that as the greatest compliment you could ever give us, because consistency is the hallmark of truth. And so my whole question to you is, I don't understand the motivation, because
Here we go.
As I said to Jacob bought the internet meme stuff about Calvinism. He clearly did not read my book to any depth at all. He was quote mining it. He didn't understand what it said. And your song doesn't understand what we believe at all.
My question is, you don't understand. My question is, you don't understand. It's not a question, James. It's a assertion. Can you demonstrate? Let me zoom in on this guy here. Look at this gentleman's expression. He's like, what's happening right now? Oh, this is great.
And so I can show you this, and I accurately represent the general authorities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. There are thousands of books that have been written by Reformed scholars since the days of John Calvin. Some might say since the days of Augustine. And yet you guys don't read them. So first question. You talked about John Calvin.
It's not your first question, James. Your first question was, you don't understand. Your second question is coming up. And it has nothing to do with answering their question, which was, what is the thing that we said that you disagree with? It's all, I'm telling you, it's all avoidance. It's like, look over here, don't look over there. It's just smoke and mirrors with old Jimothy.
Calvin exegeting 1,500 years.
Okay.
What?
Because you've got the transcript, you've got the lyrics.
I do.
Because I've heard in your previous live stream and today, part of why we're here is because you said, hey, this misrepresents us, but I don't know what it is yet. And look, we wrote a parody song. If there's lyrics we need to change,
We are now 23 minutes in, and he's like, I still don't know what the objection is.
comfortable with that. We're not married to too much of this, but some of it I'm really confused at how it is a misrepresentation. So I'd love to dive into the lyrics and see what do you mean.
Speak real loud, Austin, real loud into the mic. Make sure you get it right in front of your face.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, that did sound better, that last one there.
Is there a specific line?
Everything.
Now, it's kind of strange, James. When in the debate with Jacob Hansen,
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Oh, no. Wait. Rich is yelling at me, and I don't know what he's saying.
You can put the lyrics on the Mac, and I can put them on the screen.
Oh, well, I didn't put them in a form that is going to be all that readable, I don't think.
That's good. We can pull a few lines at a time and just chat about them here.
All right. So, but
James, sorry, just one thing, Dr. Wright. It's a little strange when you're sitting in front of Jacob Hansen and you're like, did you read my book? And he's like, what did I get wrong? And you're like, a lot. And he's like, what? And you just go, well, a lot. It's like, if only the author of the book were sitting in front of him and could possibly explain things. Like, we're right here. Whatever we got wrong, like, tell us. Like,
of course,
tell us what we got wrong.
Yeah, of course I did. I'll be glad to do so. But I wanted to find out first from you what preparation you had to come to these conclusions.
So he can't critique the actual criticism. He can't refute the actual criticism. So what he's trying to do is discredit their methodology. He can't engage the substance of the criticism. He just wants to discredit their methodology. That's pathetic. It's tragic. Because logically, their methodology could be entirely flawed, and they still arrive at an accurate conclusion. That does occur, right? So in order for him to refute them, he needs to identify the misrepresentation and explain how it's a misrepresentation, not to criticize how they arrived at their conclusion. That alone doesn't show that it's faulty. It is embarrassing. And I think, one of the things that James has been really good at is anytime he gets into a conversation, he's like, well, it must have been 20 years 20 years ago now. Oh, 2023. Was it August? Was it, I think it was July. No, it must have, it was almost 27 years ago now. I debated, this person and clearly won. And, debated. And so he, in every conversation that he has, and that's maybe a little exaggeration, most of the conversations he has, he likes to ramble and bring up past debates, tell the audience how he thoroughly won that debate, and how wonderful of a debater he is and how well prepared he is. And 90% of his program is, I'm well studied. I have done the work. I've debated. I'm well studied. That's 90%, right? He's selling this to the audience. But then you see him in actual debates, and most of them don't go well. He debated my friend on dynamic omniscience and is still having to sit on a cushion after that. Like, he thoroughly got spanked. Tim Barber on dynamic omniscience, just like, it was awful. And his recent debate with Leighton Flowers had to appeal to the moderator, he's bringing up entailments. His debate with Jacob Hansen was embarrassing. Completely abandoned the debate topic, and I think what I did early on was I bought into his sales pitch. When he told me he was a good debater and he had a lot of experience and did the work, I took his word for it. Then I started looking at some of his conclusions, and I realized I need to hold on to that receipt. I want to return what I just bought.
So I've shown credentials necessary for writing a parody song. There's no degree or license.
That is fair.
Okay,
you don't need a certificate.
Right. So you don't have to do any study to talk about.
You don't need a certificate to write a parody song. And he's like, you don't need to study. You don't need. So what he's doing again is he's attacking their methodology rather than the substance of the criticism. Again, their methodology could be completely, wildly flawed and inaccurate, but the conclusion of their criticism could still be grounded in reality. So he has to explain why that is not a right conclusion. Here's an example. Let's go into another scenario. Often when debating atheists, the Christian, when I say atheist, I mean particularly the naturalistic evolutionist, right? The naturalist. The Christian will say, well, let's use Plantinga's evolutionary argument against naturalism. Your brain is geared towards survival, not ascertaining truth claims. And you may arrive at a conclusion completely flawed, and it's not in line with reality, but it does help you with the survival of the species. So ultimately, the conclusion may have positive effect, but it's not grounded in actual truth. And they'll point that out. And James is kind of doing the same thing here, except in reverse. So let's say that the Mormon watched some videos that were completely misrepresenting Calvinism, and they did not study Calvinism. That doesn't show then that their criticism of Calvinism is flawed or inaccurate. It just shows that they arrived at possibly a right conclusion by way of suspect means. And so James's criticism here is Mormonism bad, your methodology bad, you should feel bad, get off my program. And they're like, what did we say that was wrong? Like,
somebody else's faith. Is that what
Was
you
it
said?
funny or wasn't it funny? That's the only.
No, it wasn't. No, I'm sorry. I mean, you performed nicely, but if someone did something this inaccurate about Mormonism, I don't think you'd find it funny. Maybe you would.
I think you're wrong. I think we would.
Okay, then we are different along those lines. I take this stuff seriously, so
I take parody and satire very seriously. Parody and satire is no laughing matter. You know why he's not laughing? Because it stung. Because it was accurate. You know why he's not telling them why they're wrong? Because they weren't. That's I take parody and satire very seriously. Parody and satire is no laughing matter. How dare you?
I want to be truthful, even when trying to be funny.
We take Jesus Christ's commandment very seriously when he said, "Be of good cheer."
Oh, come on.
That's one of the worst acontextual applications I've ever heard. But anyway, so what you're saying is, when you talked about,
they can't have written their parody song unless they read his book. Prudence, dude. I love that. All right. That's one of my favorite comments for the night.
For example, Calvin exegeted all my wisdom, right?
Yep.
What have you read of Calvin?
Oh, I have.
The criticism is that your doctrine is largely influenced and interpreted via Calvin. Well, what have you read from Calvin? Doesn't matter. Like, like your doctrine is derived from Calvin. Doesn't matter. Now, is there a conclusion in error? Then address the conclusion. Not their methodology, their conclusion. Address the claim, not their methodology. But he can't, because there's nothing in their criticism that he hasn't said in one way or another. I mean, if you've watched our program, he's gone on record and he's like, from all eternity, God has decreed whatsoever comes to pass. Traffic accidents, plagues, tsunamis, lightning strikes, child abuse, every instance of grapes of wrath, James has said God has decreed it from all eternity. And he said, I could no more get upset that God determined and decreed for you to be a reprobate than I could object to him choosing me. Like, if I object to him choosing you for destruction, then I would have to object to him for choosing me. Like, I've got video clips of him saying that. Like, he's completely indifferent. He's a hard-hearted non-Christian. He's a Calvinist. Now, I'm not saying all Calvinists aren't Christian, but I'm saying, like, he's not promoting Christianity, he's promoting Calvinism. And so he can't object to the actual substance of the criticism, just the methodology and how they arrived there. And it's very telling. Like, he has nothing. He has nothing other than just semantics and tap dancing.
I've read some of Calvin.
What?
Actually, I had a really good. I was just reading today about Jean Calvin. Now, I make it a point never to read Frenchmen. I don't like reading anybody who's French.
Totally. Okay. I'm going to object here. I don't like reading French attorneys from the 15th, 16th, and 17th century. That's really where I'm going to be a little more precise there. there's another modern French Calvinist theologian that seems like a nice guy, but his theology is not Christian. But that would be Guillaume Billon, another Frenchman, also a fatalist. But
Okay, so are you aware of the fact that the Institutes of the Christian Religion, his major work, the last Latin version is 1559, was one of the most foundational documents to the establishment of not only Western culture, but the United States of America?
are you aware, sir? Your parody song is wildly inaccurate. What did we get wrong? Did you know that his book was fundamental in the establishment of Western culture and the American? Do you brought people on that wrote a parody song criticizing Calvinism? You cannot tell them where they're wrong, and now you're like giving them a history lesson on the influence of Calvinism upon the establishment of America. Fuddy dud.
That it influenced in fact, Mormonism has drunk deeply of the work ethic and worldview of Scottish Presbyterians who were weaned on the Institutes of the Christian Religion. And I'm going to take a wild
our
guess.
sense of humor, though, but we didn't lose our sense of humor.
I'm going to
take the good.
Yeah, I'm going to take a wild guess here. You've never even looked at it.
Again, no objection to actually the substance of what they said, just attacking their methodology and their research. That's it. What James has demonstrated in the past is that someone can read something and still not understand it. And now he's objecting because someone may have not read something, but arrived at the right conclusion. And instead of addressing their conclusion, he's addressing their methodology. Look at James's face here. I'm going to make myself small. Doesn't that look rather sad? Rather tragic. Oh, it's not letting me zoom in. I was trying to zoom in. Nope, it's not going to let me do it. Oh, well.
Right?
So this line, the line we wrote here, the 15 centuries of wasteful hoping, and again, of all the lines in the song, this is the one I'm curious on.
No, I'm giving you examples. I will, if you want to get into all of the misrepresentations, I'll get there. I'm just wanting to make sure that we establish that the foundation of your statements is one of abject, pure ignorance.
Guys, come on my program. I want to talk to you about your misrepresentation of Calvinism in this parody song. Oh, okay. 27 minutes in, like, oh, I'll get there, but I just want to show that you're ignorant. Your methodology is suspect. Like, no, James. Now, hey, the poll's still running, folks. Take a look. I don't know. Take a look at the poll. Vote. Will James offer specifics on the lyrics that you see on the screen and tell them and us how it's a misrepresentation? Get your vote in. Will we get a specific example of how it's a misrepresentation, or will we get more obfuscation and attacking their methodology on how they arrived at their conclusions? Let's see.
I have no idea what you're talking about. You did no homework. You haven't read Calvin. Okay. When you talked about Calvin exegeted all my wisdom, are you aware of the fact that his biblical commentaries are still used today? They're some of the best available.
Are you familiar, James, with the fact that John Calvin and Calvinism is a formally condemned heresy, and that each of its unique doctrinal points has been historically condemned long before Calvinism existed on their individual merits? That you're an adherent of a formally condemned heresy. Are you aware that you're following a formal heresy, James? So you've got one heretical Christian sect, I guess, maybe if we're going to be generous, attacking another heretical Christian sect, if we're going to be generous. And he's upset at their methodology.
He didn't do the entire Bible. He died before he could finish it, but they are fantastically useful, in-depth commentaries on the text of Scripture in the original languages, the whole 9 yards.
Sure. Let's trust a 20-year-old French attorney to accurately understand the Scriptures whenever he already stated that he was just going through Augustine, a Latin, Western, errant individual who was not in lockstep with historic Christianity. Oh, by the way, this whole thing, remember, guys, this is his response to a parody that he said was inaccurate.
I mean, tremendously useful. Mormonism has never produced anything close to what Calvin produced in biblical scholarship, and that was 500.
My heresy is better than your heresy. Aha, I win. My formal heresy is far more superior than your formal heresy. Harump, harump, harump. Oh, James. Oh, what are we doing, man? What are we doing? Is this the best you got, dude?
Almost 500 years ago. So you've never looked at any of it, have you?
Thank heaven that Mormonism has not produced anything like Calvin's biblical commentary.
Right. You're affirming.
Say it louder.
Yeah.
You know what? John Calvin's Geneva, right, had the hands of children lopped off. He had children executed. He had women beaten, men beaten, tortured, executed. Why? Because they either laughed in his sermon in disagreement, refused to attend his services. He basically became the tyrant of Geneva. People were like, oh, but he'd only written the laws, and there was a council that enforced them that he had sway and control over. I mean, he had people focus on what he did to Servetus, and they go, oh, but Servetus was a heretic. He deserved it, right? Servetus was a heretic. Calvin wanted him to have his head cut off, and he was being kind, and he didn't want him burned at the stake, but Servetus deserved it. He was a formal heretic. And you're like, Calvin was a formal heretic. You're a formal heretic. If we take your standard, you're telling us just take you in the back and just be done with you? But then, Servetus gets all the attention, but they forget about the children, the women, the other men that suffered in Calvin's Geneva, and they're like, oh, what a wonderful upright standard. And then the Calvinists will turn around and they're going to attack Joseph Smith, and they're going to be like, well, he wasn't a true prophet. He died guns blazing, and he was into polygamy, and he was a liar, and he had his golden plates. And I'm like, guys, okay, Mormonism is wrong. That doesn't make Calvinism true. Come on, James, you got more work to do, buddy.
I did. You're making my points for me, but you have one audience, right, and I have a different audience. So my audience is a serious audience, and
we have two different audiences. You have a giggling audience, and I have a serious audience. We have two different audiences, and I'm going to tell you my audience. My audience is the best audience. We're the most serious. They're scholars. They've all read Calvin, and they all attest to it. So clearly, they know what they're doing. In your audience, they like to laugh, so clearly you cannot have humor and intelligence. Oh, harumph, harumph, harumph.
Going for the clicks and giggles. I get it.
We're talking about a parody musical number, James.
Yes.
If the argument is that we're not serious theologians, guilty is charged.
That's right.
It's a hilarious song.
If you're gonna go through every line of the song and then say, "Oh, so you didn't read my book on this, or you didn't read John Calvin?"
No.
What I want to know is, how is it wrong?
How's it wrong?
I'd love to know how it's wrong.
Tell us how.
So we've established what it's based on. Okay.
We've established they're asking you to tell them what the conclusions that they wrote are wrong. How are they wrong? Let's see, guys. Remember, we got an active poll going right now. Right now, I don't know if you guys are, into Vegas odd, like, I don't know if you're into odd, what is it they call it? Odds makers or odd makers. I don't know what the odds are on this. I'm going to tell you just my hunch here. They're not looking too good for our friend Jimothy here. I don't think we're going to get any specifics. I think we're just going to get obfuscation, gaslighting, and avoidance. And you didn't do the right method to arrive at the right conclusion. I think that's what we're going to get. But let's see.
Okay. All around me is predestination. Dead creations. What are dead creations?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're dead
What are
creations.
dead creations?
Are we not?
What do you think dead creations means?
James, we're all born spiritually dead. They've got a song like, hey, look, we're all a bunch of dead creations. He's like, you're wrong. And they're like, how are we wrong? Well, what do you think dead creations means? Oh, dude, James, come on, my friend. Just repent and leave this nonsense.
No. You tell us what we got wrong, man. Tell us what we got wrong. You're saying you have issue with our lyrics. Tell us what we got wrong.
I've got a quote from John Calvin, if it helps.
Allie Beth Stuckey said the same thing. She said, we're dead creations. We're just dead. Tell us what's wrong.
Okay, so you probably don't understand Reformed doctrine.
The issue isn't what you said, dear Mormon. It's what you meant when you said it. The issue isn't that you repeated back to us our own position. It's that you did so in disagreement. And therein is your problem.
Of the fall, federal headship.
We don't understand. Just tell us what we got wrong, brother.
So
this podcast could be 10 minutes.
Okay, listen. I'm not sure how long this is going to go if you can't get into an adult level of conversation here, because
old Jimothy, man, they're like, hey, can you just tell us like what we got wrong? And he's like, I don't know how long we're going to be able to do this if you can't act like adults. Can you just tell us what we got wrong? Obviously, you're acting like a child. Can you tell us what we got wrong? Oh, your audience is not like my audience.
As this isn't some childish thing, okay? I asked you because you do have a public presence, and if what you're saying is, don't take us seriously, we don't care if what we're saying is truthful or not. For crying out loud, we're just here for jokes. If that's all you're saying,
look at how he's reframing it. They're saying, look, it's a parody. It's not a serious theological treatise. If you object to one of the lines in the song, tell us why. And he's reframing it as like, we don't care about the truth. Do you see what he's doing? It's so obvious. We now have almost 30 minutes of this video, and he has yet to give them a single clear example of where their song misrepresented it. In fact, the one attempt that he made, he ended up affirming and they noted that other Calvinists, including Calvin and Allie Beth Stuckey, affirmed it. Now he's objecting to, well, they're not affirming it. So the real issue is not the statement, but a criticism rather than an affirmation. And then they go, do you have anything? And he goes, if you're not going to act like adults. I will say, while they are laughing, they're the only adults in this conversation. Dude, thank you for the super. See, Denise, glad to see you streaming. We're just here for jokes. Yes, no, my audience is the most intelligent, the most funny, the best looking, and those with the best skincare routine. We're it. We are the total package, ladies and gentlemen. My audience, forget James White's audience. Forget the Mormons. The Mormons aren't serious. Forget James, his audience. Oh, no. My audience, ladies and gentlemen. My audience. The sweetest, the kindest, the most intelligent, the most truthful, the most audience, the most Christ-like. Can I say it? I'm going to say it. Because all we're doing is saying things. Doesn't matter if it's true, right, James? We're just going to say it.
Fine. Well, we're great. Otherwise, then you need to recognize that when you ask, well, show us what's wrong. You don't understand the foundations. You can't even start the conversation.
James, if you can't put up All you're doing is this is an hour of saying, I promise you're wrong. Trust me, bro. Tell us what we got wrong.
Okay. So when I ask you,
James, can you tell us what we got wrong? So when I ask you what you mean by the thing that I say, this is so bad. I mean, I was listening to this the other day, and I was about halfway through it, and I was like, I'm losing my ever-loving mind. Like, the man will not give a straight answer. Like, yes, pink Power Ranger energy. I almost went with that as my countdown. I almost did, but I was like, no, I need to mix it up a little bit. Yes, it's that pink Power Ranger energy. That's what we're seeing here. Oh, hold on now. Don't you get ahead of me. Don't you get ahead of me, Amber. I want everybody voting. Make sure you vote.
what you meant in the song, you refused to answer. I said, what is dead creations?
We meant exactly what we said. That's how you know. What do we mean? We meant what we said. I think it's a perfectly accurate song. I think it's 100%. Every line I stand behind, I think it's perfectly accurate.
Okay. So if you can't
tell me why not.
I'm trying to, and you're not making it possible. What's a dead creation? How did God create Adam? Was he alive or dead? What's the Reformed doctrine of the fall? What does it mean? What does federal headship mean? These are basic things that any person who's going to make meaningful commentary should know something about.
Now look at him acting like he's indignant. Like, how dare you in a parody song talking about total depravity not go through our entire theological tradition and sell it as though you believe in it? You're not serious. Your methodology is not serious. I'm indignant. I'm angry. Oh, look at this. Look. He's trying to sell it because if he can get moral justification, what do you think? What do you think he's trying to sell right now? Where do you think he's headed? Do you think he's about to give them an example of how they got it wrong? Or do you think that maybe he's trying to justify a particular move that he's realized is his only option to end this conversation? Let's see.
I made sure to know about Mormonism before talking about Mormonism. You don't know what you're talking about, do you? What is a dead creation?
Yeah, but look, James, you're wrong about us. We're wrong about you, but we're funny.
What? Okay.
hey, Jonah.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay. It sounds like we've reached the end of meaningful adult conversation because I ask you what your song means and you won't answer. What is a dead creation?
I don't know what a dead creation, but Calvinism, my understanding is you say often, we're dead in our sins. So we're created by God, but we're all dead in our sins, right?
And how'd that happen?
So the issue isn't that what you said isn't truthful, but that you're not articulating how we believe it occurred.
Happened
from the fall, I assume you'd say, right?
Okay.
And that's what that line is referring to, is that you constantly are talking about, we're all just kind of reprehensible, right?
Okay. Actually, Romans chapter 3 says that very clearly. But I get the feeling that
Romans chapter 3 doesn't say that we're all born spiritually dead, Jimothy. Romans chapter 3 is quoting Psalm 14 that is speaking specifically of the unbelieving fool and contrasting them against the righteous who wait on God. Romans chapter 3 is drawing a contrast, just like Psalm 14 did, between those who believe and trust in God and those who reject him. It's showing that it's not a national boundary, but it's a heart issue. And it's not one that we're born with, but it's one that we choose, as the context of Psalm 14 makes it very clear. But Jimothy's methodology and conclusions are flawed.
If I try to open the scriptures, we're going to really come off the rails because all of the...
You'd come off the rails, James. We're not going to come off the rails. We've read the scriptures plenty. We are good, of good cheer, James.
Okay,
we don't come off the rails.
I need my screen, Rich. Okay, since I'm the one that's going to come off the rails here, then let's go ahead and let me ask you.
So does God not view us as dead creations? Is that your contention?
You know, they're humorous, they're smiling, and they have the teeth of many sharks. James, we're going to hold you to a standard here. Can you take a stand? Is it your contention that God doesn't view us this way because you're objecting to this lyric in our song? Is it really your contention that that's wrong? Uh-oh, what's James going to do?
How did we become dead? We fell in our head.
No, hold on.
Adam.
You're saying our song is inaccurate.
Yes.
So
yes.
does God not view us? You're God of Calvinism.
Mm-hmm.
Does he not view us as dead creations?
We are dead in our trespasses and sins, according to Ephesians chapter 2.
Beep, bop,
Could you-
beep, bop. Calvinism program kicking in. Dead in sins, Ephesians, Romans 3. Beep, bop, beep, bop, bop. Cannot compute, cannot think. Does your God view us as dead? Beep, bop, Romans 4, chapter. He can't. We often, when we're reading the Bible, we read about like demonic possession. And maybe along those same lines, we need to also be very cognizant of ideological possession. James has been possessed by the Antichrist spirit of Calvinism. He needs to be delivered.
God,
Could you possibly
being
phrase that as
rich
a dead
in
creation?
mercy, even though we were dead in our trespasses and sins, made us alive together in Christ.
So James is saying, yes, but. So he's saying, you're misrepresenting, and they're going, but doesn't God view us that way? Yes, but. Okay, so there's nothing misrepresenting in their song, James. You just don't like it because it's exposing your view and it's critical of it.
There is a fall in Adam that is directly parallel to Jesus Christ, the second Adam. And so if you're going to object to falling in Adam and receiving from him spiritual death, then you have to, if you're going to be consistent, object to receiving eternal life in Jesus Christ. That's what Romans chapter 5 is all about.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
But to get there, you've got to go through Romans 1, 2, and 3. And chapter 3 is the one that talks about there is none who understands, there is none that seeks good, the poison of asp.
And so Romans chapter 3 is not talking about the author of Romans chapter 3, is it? Are you going to tell me the guy who wrote Romans chapter 3 is guilty of the same condemnation that he's levying against the unbeliever? Is that what you're going to tell me? Come on, James. Hold on. If we're going to take James's standard here, James does not seek after God. Actually, you know what? Let's do something fun here. Let's do something fun. I'm going to go to the Bible Gateway. No, why did it pull up Bible Study? I don't think I've ever been to that website before. Bible Study? I use Bible Gateway, bro, like a real American. Romans 3. Let's go down to... Let's look at this. Let's read this and insert James's name here. And then you tell me if you should trust this man who's teaching you. But James is not a righteous person. He does not understand. He does not seek out God. He has turned aside and become corrupt. He does no good. His throat is an open grave. With his tongue he keeps deceiving. The venom of asp is under his lips. His mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. His feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in his paths, and he has not known the way of peace. There is no fear of God before his eyes. Now, that's assuming, right, that there is none in the absolute sense that James White has been presenting it. But obviously, James doesn't even believe that, right? James doesn't believe he falls under this, and he doesn't believe that the author of Romans chapter 3 falls under it. So he's inconsistent. And there's nothing in the text that says that that's our natural condition or the state that we're born with, that we're born into. But that's what he's reading it. he's an eisegete. James White is a world-class eisegete.
Was under their lips, etc., 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 and every mouth is closed, and that's where you have in Ephesians 2 Paul's statement: "You were dead in your trespasses and sins, but God."
Now here's, I saw the thumbnail that Jeremiah Naughty Dog posted, and it had a Pokemon silhouette, and I was like, oh, that's Father Stephen DeYoung. I was like, James is about to get the spanking of his life. If you thought my buddy Tim Barber took James White to the woodshed, be prepared. Oh, ooh. Father Stephen DeYoung is going to school this blasphemous heretic. That's all I'm going to say. It ain't going to be good. It ain't going to be good. I'm excited. All right. Let's get
made you alive.
See, you agree. You agree with the lyric.
No, I don't, because the lyric
You just said you did. You just explained how we're dead creations. That's why we wrote it that way.
Right.
So how that happens and what its purpose is, especially because you then say God creates for what was something in giggles.
Kicks and giggles.
Kicks and giggles.
That's verse 2.
You're not going to, okay. So when
kicks and giggles, right? His ways are not our ways, and he does it for his own glory and good pleasure. Is it okay to say kicks and giggles if you're writing a satirical song that says he does it for his own good pleasure, and you say kicks and giggles? Is it any less substantive? No. Now what you have to do is you have to say that God is doing this against his own goodwill and good pleasure, and then you would have a substantive critique against the line kicks and giggles. But what he's doing is he goes, you're reducing my view and taking it out of this lofty, idolatrous position that I hold it in, and you're exposing it for the naked little pervert that it is, and I don't like it. And I'm angry about it.
Someone can say something like that. It's really hard for me to work up the idea of being consistent with the rest of the song, because you can't seriously believe that phrase has any meaning. Can you?
Then okay, why? Okay, then
I'm going to appeal to indignation. I'm not going to expose it. I'm not going to refute it. I'm not going to argue that it's wrong and why. I'm going to appeal to indignation. I'm incensed. You make me feel bad. You bad. That's what we get with Jimothy's world-class apologetics. Father Stephen DeYoung is going to eat this man alive. Oh.
Sure, then explain why not. Explain what did he create us for then? You tell us. Tell us. You're the professor. God's
demonstration of all of his attributes to all of creation, the manifold wisdom before the watching universe, is kicks and giggles.
So
I mean, this is just basic Bible 101. Have you read Ephesians 1, the summing up of all things in Jesus Christ? That's kicks and giggles. I'm sorry. That's indefensible, gentlemen. It's indefensible.
James is going to equate his formal theological heresy with Scripture itself, and then when it's challenged, he's going to appeal to indignation and go, how dare you mock Scripture? Oh, that's what we're seeing here. It's desperation. It's transparent.
I defend it. I think it's hilarious. I defend it. I think it's perfectly accurate.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming on the program today, but I'm not going to talk about God's biblical revelation. I'm not sure why I'm up there twice. But
you're in an echo chamber, doofus. I'm sorry. We need more James White on the screen.
There we go. Thank you. I'm not going to discuss Ephesians 2 and Ephesians 1 with men who are clearly completely not serious.
I'm going to invite these guys on who wrote a parody song attacking my theological tradition, but I refuse to have a conversation with them because they're not serious. Boy, look at James. Like, I wonder if I still have a copy of The Art of War with Sun Tzu. He could really use that. Does anybody know how to gift him, like maybe does he have a PO box? Like, we all should just send him copies of The Art of War. This was so bad.
I mean, I'm sorry. I teach graduate level courses. I'm used to dealing with adults, and these men are not adults.
Ad hominem, avoidance, gaslight, and what do we get? We had them on that program for almost 36 minutes, right? Or at least I think there might have been a few minutes, a minute or two before they came on. Let's be fair. So he brought them on around. So for 30 minutes, they were on almost exactly 30 minutes. And he couldn't tell them a single lyric in their song that was wrong and why. Instead, he objected to the lyric of the song because they didn't state what he believed and defend what he believed. Instead, they stated what he believed in a mocking and criticizing way. So therefore, they're wrong. That doesn't follow. This is the last great white hope of Calvinism.
They're immature young men. One of them doesn't look like he's a young man, but the immaturity is, there's just a point where it's like, okay, pearls and swine here.
Yes, pearls and swine, Jimothy. Pearls and swine. He doesn't offer any sort of rebuttal to them other than just avoidance and ad hominem and fallacy upon fallacy upon fallacy. That's what we get with Jimothy. Okay, so let's look and see how the result of the poll is going. You guys, I'm going to go ahead and call it. Let's end that poll. Awesome. 84% of you were correct. 16% of you were wrong. Now, I should have run a poll asking if you thought he was going to boot them or not, but that's what happened. He brought them on to tell them how wrong they were, only not to do so, and then kick them off when they kept saying, can you tell us exactly what the issue is with our lyrics? I watched that and I was like, okay, this is going to be fun to share with my audience. We're going to have a good time. Now, if you wouldn't mind, again, just lift me and my family up in prayer. Look at doing some donations if you can. I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do I think that's a good idea. We'll probably do like an open lines or something. Until then, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your evening. God bless. Take care. Thanks for all your prayers and support. And see you tomorrow.
Putting on Christ is not one among many jobs a Christian has to do, and it is not a sort of special exercise for the top class. It is the whole of Christianity. Christianity offers nothing else at all. C.S. Lewis.